Chamber of Secrets by J.K. Rowling. The explosion exploded, showering the whole class. People shrieked as splashes of the swirling solution hit them. Malfoy got a face full and his nose began to swell like a balloon. While blunted around, his hands were over his eyes, which had expanded to the size of dinner plates, while Snape was trying to restore calm and find out what happened. Through the confusion, Harry saw Hermione split quietly out of the door. "Silence! Silence!" Snape roared. "Anyone who has been splashed, come here for a deflating draught." When I found out who did this, Harry tried not to laugh as he watched Malfoy hurry forward, his head drooping the way of a nose like a small melon. As half the class lumbered up to Snape's desk, some weighted down with arms like cubes, others unable to talk through the gigantic puffed-up lips, Harry saw Hermione slide back into the dungeon, the front of her robes bulging. When everyone had taken a swig of antidote and the various swelling had subsided, Snape swept over Goyle's cauldron and scooped out the twisted black remains of the firework. There was a sudden hush. "If I ever find out who threw this," Snape whispered, "I shall make sure that person is expelled." Harry arranged his face into what he hoped was a puzzled expression. Snape was looking right at him, and the bell, which rang 10 minutes later, could not have been more welcome. He knew it was me, Harry told Ron and Hermione, as they hurried back to moaning Mance's bathroom. I could tell. Hermione threw the new ingredients into the cauldron and began to stir feverishly. "It will be ready in a fortnight," she said happily. "Snape can't prove it was you," said Ron, reasoning to Harry. "What can he do? No one Snape something fool," said Harry as the potion frothed and bubbled. A week later, Harry, Ron, and Hermione were walking across the entrance hall when they saw a small knot of people gather around the notice board, reading a piece of parchment that had just been pinned up. Seamus Finnegan and Dean Thomas beckoned them over, looking excited. "They're starting a dueling club," said Seamus. "First meeting tonight. Look at my dueling lessons. They might come in handy out of these days." "What, you reckon Slytherin's monster can duel?" said Ron, but he too read the sign with interest. "Could be useful," he said to Harry and Hermione as they went into the dinner. "Shall we go?" Harry and Hermione were all for it, so at 8 o'clock that evening they hurried back to the great hall. The long dining tables had vanished and a golden stage had appeared along the way, with about thousands of candles floating overhead. The ceiling was velvety black once more, and most of the school seemed to be packed beneath it, carrying their wands and looking excited. "I wonder who'll be teaching us," said Hermione as they edged into the chattering crowd. "Someone told me Flitwick was a dueling champion when he was young. Maybe it will be him." "As long as it's not," Harry began, but the ended in a groan. Gilderoy Lockhart was walking on the stage, resplendent with robes of deep plum, and accompanied by none of the others than Snape, wearing his usual black. Lockhart waved an arm for silence and called, "Gather round, gather round. Can everyone see me? Can you all hear me? Excellent. Now, Professor Dumbledore had granted me the permission to start this little dueling club, to train you all up, and in case you ever need to defend yourselves, as I myself have done on countless occasions. For full details, see my published works. Let me introduce my assistant, Professor Snape," said Lockhart, flashing a white smile. "His husband knows a tiny bit around dueling himself, and has importantly agreed to help me with a short demonstration before we begin. Now, I don't want any of you youngers to worry. You'll still have your potions master when I'm through him. Never fear." Wouldn't it be good if they finished each other off?" Ron muttered in Harry's ear. Snape's under lip was curling. Harry wondered why Lockhart was still smiling. If Snape had begun looking at him like that, he'd have been running as fast as he could in the opposite direction. Lockhart and Snape turned, faced each other, and bowed. At least Lockhart did, with much twirling of his hands, where Snape jerked his head irritably when they raised their wands like swords in front of them. "As you see, we are holding our wands in the accepted combative position," Lockhart told the silent crowd. "On the count of 3, we will cast our first spells. Neither of us will be aiming to kill, of course." "It wouldn't be bad on that," Harry murmured, watching Snape baring his teeth. 1, 2, 3. Both of them swung their wands up and all towards the shoulders. Snape cried, "Expelliarmus!" There was a dazzling flash of scarlet light and Lockhart was blasted off his feet. He flew backwards off the stage, smashed into the wall, and slid down to its sprawl on the floor. Malfoy and some of the other Slytherins cheered. Hermione was dancing on tiptoes. "Do you guess all right?" she squealed through her fingers. "Who cares?" said Harry and Ron together. Lockhart was getting unsteadily to his feet. His hat had fallen off and his wavy hair was standing on end. Well, there you have it, he said, tottering back onto the platform. That was my disaster charm, as you see. I've lost my wand. Thank you, Miss Brown. Yes, an excellent idea to show them that, Professor Snape, but if you don't mind me saying so, it was very obvious that you were about to do. If I wanted to stop you, I would have been only too easy. However, I felt it would be instructive to let them see. Snape was looking murderous. Possibly Lockhart had noticed because he said, enough demonstrating. I'm going to come amongst you now and pull you all into Paris. Professor Snape, if you'd like to help me. They moved through the crowd, matching up partners. Lockhart teamed Neville with Justin Filch-Fletchy, but Snape reached Harry and Ron first. Time to split up the dream, I think, he sneered. Weasley, you can Potter, Finnegan, Potter. Harry moved automatically towards Hermione. I don't think so, said Snape, smiling coldly. Mr. Malfoy, come over here. Let's see what you make of the famous Potter. And you, Miss Granger, you can partner with Bustard. Malfoy started over, smirking. Behind him walked a slithering girl who reminded Harry of a picture he'd seen at Holidays with Hacks. She had large and square, and her heavy jaw jutted aggressively. Hermione gave her a weak smile, which she did not return. Face your partners, said Lockhart back on the platform. And bow. Harry and Malfoy barely inclined their heads, not taking their eyes off each other. Once they're ready, shouted Lockhart. When I count to 3, cast your charms to disarm your opponent. Only to disarm them. We don't want any accidents. 1, 2, 3. Harry swung his head over his shoulder. But Malfoy had already started on 2. His spell hit Harry so hard he felt as though he had been hit over the head with a saucepan. He stumbled, but everything still seemed to be working, and wasting no more time, Harry pointed his wand straight at Malfoy and shouted, Rictus Sempra! A jet of silver light hit Malfoy in the stomach, and he doubled up, wheezing. I said disarm only! Lockhart shouted in alarm over the heads of the battling crowd, as Malfoy sank to his knees. Harry had hit him with a ticking charm, and he could barely move for laughing. Harry hung back with a weak feeling it would be unspoting to bewitch Malfoy, which he had on the floor, but this was a mistake. Gasping for breath, Minton pointed his wand at Harry's knees, choked Tarantaglia, and next second Harry's legs had begun to jerk around under his control in a kind of swig step. Stop, stop, screamed Lockhart, but Snape took charge. Penitent Cantamian, he shouted. Harry's feet stopped dancing, Malfoy stopped laughing, and they were all able to look up. A haze of greenish smoke was hovering over the sun. Both Neville and Justin were lying on the floor panting. Ron was holding up an ashen-faced Seamus, apologizing for whatever his broken one had done. But Hermione and Millicent Bustard were still moving. Millicent had Hermione in a headlock, and Hermione was whimpering in pain. Both their wands lay forgotten on the floor. Harry leaped forward and pulled Millicent off. It was difficult. She was a lot bigger than he was. Dear, dear, said Lockhart, skittering through the crowd, looking at the aftermath of the duels. Up you get, Macmillan. Careful there, Miss Fawcett. Pinch it hard. It'll stop bleeding in a second, Boot. I think I'd better teach you how to block and climb the steps, said Lockhart, standing flustered in the midst of the hall. He glanced at Snape, whose black eyes glinted, and looked quickly away. Let's have a volunteer pair. Longbottom and Fletchy. How about you? A bad idea, Professor Lockhart, said Snape, landing over the large and male violent bat. Longbottom causes devastation with his simple spells. We'll be sending the left of Fletchy up to the hospital wing in a matchbox. Neville's round pink face went pinker. How about Malfoy and Potter, said Snape with a twisted smile. Excellent idea, said Lockhart, gesturing Harry and Malfoy into the middle of the hall, as the crowd backed away to give them room. Now, Harry, said Lockhart, when Draco points his wand at you, you do this. He raised his own wand, attempted to complicate sort of wiggling action, and dropped it. Snape smirked as Lockhart quickly picked it up, saying, Whoops, my wand is a little overexcited. Snape moved closer to Malfoy, bent down and whispered something in his ear. Malfoy smirked too. Harry looked nervously up at Lockhart and said, Professor, could you show me that blocking thing again? Scared? Murmured Malfoy so that Lockhart couldn't hear him. You wish, said Harry out of the corner of his mouth. Lockhart caught Harry merrily in the shoulder. Just do what I did, Harry. What, drop my wand? But Lockhart wasn't listening. 3, 2, 1, go, he shouted. Malfoy rested his wand quickly and blew out. Serpent Sortia! The end of his wand exploded. Harry watched aghast as long black snakes sputtered out of it, fell heavily on the floor between them, and raised itself, ready to strike. There were screams as the crowd backed swiftly away, clearing the floor. Don't move, Potter, said Snape lazily, clearly enjoying the sight of Harry standing emotionless eye to eye with the angry snake. I'll get rid of it. Allow me, shouted Lockhart. He brandished his wand at the snake and there was a loud bang. The snake, instead of vanishing, flew 10 feet into the air and fell back to the floor with a loud smack. Enraged, hissing furiously, it slithered straight towards the just-inflamed-Fletchy and raised itself again, fangs exposed, pointing to strike. Harry wasn't sure what made him to do it. He wasn't even aware of deciding to do it. All he knew was that his legs were carrying him forward as though he was on casters, that he had absolutely stupidly and the snake. Leave him! And miraculously, inexplicably, the snake slammed the floor, dusting a thick black garden hose that eyes now on Harry. Harry felt drained out of him. He knew the snake wouldn't attack anyone now, though how he knew it he couldn't have just explained.